Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next City of Echoes chapter analysis video. This one's going to be for chapter 9 and 10. Just before I jump in, I will mention again, I do have YouTube channel membership and Patreon available if you'd like to help support the channel, and you'll also gain early access to other videos in this series. But let's jump in here. So we follow up those two kind of interesting kind of transition chapters as we get more of Jin interacting with Juan. We follow that up with more, but this is one where he finally makes sort of the right approach to Jin, while revealing this kind of interesting new kind of side to himself, because this is where the kind of black market side of Ba Sing Se comes into play. And in a fascinating turn, it's through Juan. So let's kind of jump in here with chapter 9. So we start off with the idea that Jin has been looking for kind of jobs that kind of fit her schedule so she can make as much money as possible, but no one is hiring just because, you know, the timing that she needs and stuff like that. She kind of feels like, am I going to have to kind of drop out of the academy? But she can't really bring herself to tell Gong Gong that she's realistically made that decision. So she's there then at the notice board beside the academy kitchen, looking for kind of requests for any kind of like odd job type situations. There's a fun little detail where this is where she sees the notice that someone has lost an air bison. So this is the kind of Appa kind of missing poster, which is interesting. She doesn't know what to make of this. She thinks it might be a joke, but obviously it is actually true. There was one for a calligraphy tutor, which should be perfect for her. But when she responded to it, they took one look at her and basically accused her of stealing the academy uniform. They just didn't think she could possibly be a calligraphy tutor. So not going well. This is where Juan turns up again, looking for a job. And she's like, I don't want to be part of the thing you're doing with your friends, you know. But he's like, no, it's not about that. I want to help. And he makes it clear, like, look, it's really not about calligraphy. It's not about the competition. You said you really, really needed money. I think we can help each other. And he points out here that there is a job that's come up. The usual girl who runs the route is sick. And I thought of you to see if you would be interested. She asks, you know, why are you basically involved with kind of seeing that a job is done? That's a bit, like, weird. Like, I assume you don't have one yourself, so why are you in charge of like another one? And he points out that, well, the usual girl who's responsible for the route is my sister. It's a job that requires discretion, so it comes with some risks. He points out that, you know, you'll get full payment fee for the delivery. It should be a very quick kind of in and out delivery, not at all that different from the deliveries you usually do, of course. So he says, you know, you'll be doing me a favor if you do this. She asks, where would the package be delivered to? It's to the university. She gets a bit surprised at this because, you know, I can't go to the university. They'll stop me at the gate. I don't have any means to kind of get in there. He points out, I have a token. You'll get in there. You'll be using someone's kind of different. You'll be basically using a fake name, a fake identity. I'll give you an outfit. You'll get in there. What's in the package? Best you don't worry about that. So it's a bit worrying, but he basically points out that, like, hey, you just get in there, hand it to the right person, then you leave. That's what it's all about. Don't think about what it actually is. I'll even pay you in advance. And he gives her the pouch of coins. And it is a quite hefty pouch of coins considering it's kind of one delivery. And he's basically like, hey, tomorrow after school, meet me here. We'll organize the kind of full details of this. She then asks the question in the middle of all this that, like, wait, how do you know that I make deliveries? Because from Jin's point of view, the two of them basically only know each other from occasionally interacting at school and that she goes to the apothecary. So how does he specifically know this kind of other aspect kind of about her? And he's like, never mind how I know. You're so nosy. Meet me here. Don't be late. So that's kind of cool. She then goes to the Wen kind of bakery. Mama Wen can tell she's quite distracted. She just thinks Jin needs some rest. So she kind of sends her off to go get that rest. We get a interesting detail here as like she crosses paths with Jiang, and he's not with Rende or Juan. So we kind of get this kind of almost reveal in the background that, like he said in the previous chapter, he and Rende don't agree with Jiang, so they kind of maybe aren't friends anymore because of that big blow up that happened there, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, she then meets up with Juan, and they kind of prepare for this. So she gets changed into the outfit, of course. She's about to kind of get going when he gets really close to her and goes to fix her hair, and she's really kind of taken aback, and it's the first kind of little hint of maybe that kind of like awkward, maybe romance kind of stuff happening here, where she's like taken aback at how brazen he is to get up so close. And he's just like, hey, you need to look presentable. You don't want to get caught, right? So yeah, she'll be fine. She fixes her hair herself. Then we get the details on her fake identity here. Her name is Huajin, Huajin. So her own name is in there. It just has Hua in the front of it. Huajin. I'm not really sure about the pronunciation. But yeah, there is a fake story here. A new assistant of the apothecary returning some classic scrolls that were borrowed from the Library of Medical Studies. That's the kind of cover story here. She again asks like, hey, what's in this? Why is it so important that it get done today? Better for you not to know, basically. So he sends her off and just kind of highlights that, remember the details. Library of Medical Studies, ask for Professor Ohm. O-M. O-M. I'm not sure, again, pronunciation on the names, but go to this professor. That's who you're delivering it to. This then gets us into chapter 10. So immediately it's Jin at the gate. She wouldn't be able to get through here, but the token works. She just has to be a little bit confident and is like, I'm Huajin, sir. I'm from Dr. Zhang's shop. Where's the other girl? She's sick. She'll be back soon. She gets through. And she's amazed by, finally getting to see this kind of section of the city that has the university in it, which she hasn't been able to get to. She makes an initial kind of mistake. She goes the wrong way. They tell her to go the other way. And she is just kind of stunned at like this nicer kind of part of the city here. There's a very interesting point here where Jin almost like highlights that this could be her future if she pursues the kind of academic path. If I'm lucky enough to gain one of the coveted spots at the university, I would receive funds to cover my tuition and meals, and I'd have an apartment to stay in on the grounds, simply because of how they value education in Ba Sing Se. That was the commoner's promise. How it's possible for even a merchant's son from the middle ring to become one of the most influential officials in the city, the Grand Secretariat Long Feng. But I already know how much is required of us to keep up. So, very interesting detail. I think that's the only mention of Long Feng in the entire book, if I remember correctly. And interestingly, it's about his backstory as someone who comes from relatively kind of humble means to effectively become someone who's technically controlling the city at this point in time. And it highlights that Ba Sing Se does value its education quite highly. And there is this commoner's promise where, you can actually rise through the ranks, which is a bit of an interesting thing in this city where there's otherwise kind of so many problems, that there is this kind of foundational thing in the background to all of this. But anyway, she heads into the tower, which is where she has to make the delivery. She says, delivery from Professor Om. Eventually he arrives. She hands the package over. It's all going kind of perfectly fine. And when he opens it, he immediately opens it right in front of her, takes the thing out, and is just amazed by it. She doesn't know what to do. Like, should she be looking at it? Should she be kind of paying attention elsewhere? Doesn't really know kind of what to do. The professor then says, you can stand, and actually asks her, like, hey, do you know what this is? So she finally takes a look at what the package is. And again, remember, this is meant to be some sort of almost illicit parcel where like, what is this? It's obviously like illegal. Otherwise you would have just had it delivered by normal means rather than this kind of questionable thing that Jin doesn't quite know what exactly she's doing. But what it is here, it says this, it looks like an ordinary piece of stone to me. But then my eyes are drawn to the strange patterns on the shard, lines of caramel and creamy white. And he's like, curious, isn't it? Touch it. She places her hand on it, but it doesn't quite feel like stone. And he says, it's earth, but it's not quite earth, he proclaims. An anomaly, a rare specimen of wood turned to stone, of something living, changed and becoming something new. And she's like, what does it do? Does it have some sort of healing property? Because she's here at like the kind of like medical department, basically. Is it some sort of healing thing related to like apothecary? Is that why this is all happening? And he's like, oh no, it's a message, a philosophical puzzle, an offer to reconsider my way of thinking, or else malleable wood may find itself becoming something hard and set in its ways. Should our mindset shift to stone, or shall we be worn down to dust? And Jin is just like, huh? What do you mean by that? And he continues on like he's almost testing her in some way. These are strange times indeed, he muses. Young earthbenders like you will shape our future, if you will pass along a message for me in turn. And he says, tell them that when it comes time, they can rely on my vote. And she's just like, I'll do that. She gets the payment and she kind of heads out, and we get the very interesting final section of the chapter in just a second. But I've gone back to this a few times in the book on my various read-throughs, because it's such an interesting scene, because it's not just dropping off a parcel and Jin finds out what it is. It's this idea of like, it's obviously some sort of, I guess like petrified wood, because it's wood turned to stone. And they make a point of it. It's not really about like what it like does. It's more about like what it means. It is a message. The idea of don't be alive like wood and then turn to stone and just lock yourself into those ways. So whoever he's having this discussion with, whoever he's got this delivery from, he's obviously discussing quite in-depth things with, and they're asking him to sort of keep an open mind. But then the interesting idea of like thoughts turn to the future, and it's like he immediately knows that she's an earthbender, which is something she ultimately hides from a lot of people. And at no point during all of this was she doing anything overall. So it's interesting that like he just straight away knows that, almost kind of, you would say, like implying that maybe he himself is a master earthbender, to be able to sense that she is an earthbender, and that it's the youth who will kind of shape the future. And then the idea of pass a message back to who delivered this to me to say, oh yeah, they have my vote. So there's clearly more going on here than just he's ordered something from outside the city that he's not meant to have. There's more going on behind the scenes here. And again, given that this is the Silver Fangs, as we'll find out, some sort of a kind of black market kind of criminal group within the city, it's fascinating to kind of view this in mind. Now, as we go forward, I think this scene is mostly just one to remember. When some of the reveals about the Silver Fangs come out, remember that her first mission, basically, for them was also this kind of thought-provoking thing, and it wasn't really delving deep into like criminal activity as such. So that's the interesting point there. But yeah, then we get into the final section. So as she's making her way back out, this is meant to be just finishing up the job, head back out the gate, meet up with Chuan again, and that's the delivery done. She watches people heading towards her, and it's just a group of people here. A woman dressed in yellow robes, wearing an official-looking black headdress with green flowers, an older gentleman who looks quite distinguished, with a woman on his arm, both dressed in elegant black robes. His are lined with green, while hers have a tasteful embroidery of a flower on the sleeve and a matching green thread. There's a little boy running circles around them, wearing a green hat. He's laughing, a joyous sound that makes me smile at him. The way the younger woman talks, moving her hands animatedly, catches my attention. I almost trip over my feet when it hits me. The makeup, the shapeless uniform, I almost didn't recognize her. I would have walked right past them if I wasn't paying attention. It's her. It's Susu. So very interesting here. Her first job, and she's immediately encountered Susu doing what she's kind of gone to do. And they describe here, it's been a few weeks since she's seen Susu. So she immediately kind of goes up, like realizes like, okay, I probably need to find a moment where she's maybe separated from the other people she's with, and then go up to have a quick conversation with her. I can't stick around or anything like that, but I want to let her know that I'm kind of here. So eventually the others kind of go off. She's left behind a little bit. Jin kind of pops out from kind of behind a bush, I think it is, and is just like, hey, Susu. She's met with like a smile, but it's like she's greeting a stranger, like she doesn't know who I am. And Jin just starts talking, like, I'm so happy to see you, I'm worried about you, how are they treating you, like, what are you doing, are you in charge of looking after that boy, or what? And she just doesn't get any response. It's like, tell me what's wrong, tell me, why are you doing this? And the response that she gets is, though I would love to converse further, I'm currently responsible for my duties at this time. If you have a complaint to be made about how I'm carrying out my tasks, please direct your complaints to the Department of Civilian Affairs. And Jin immediately notes that is not how Susu speaks. This is extremely formal and precise. There's no lower ring accent in those words. And the chapter ends with, it sounds like someone else. And again, because we're already leaning into the direction of like, has she been taken off to be a Judy and now she's basically coming across as brainwashed, that's definitely the direction that you're kind of heading in, of like, Susu, I think, even though we've only known her for a few chapters, she definitely, I think, would give Jin an indication that she's there. She would say something to her secretly, kind of quietly, just like, hey, I can't speak right now, but I'm doing okay, we'll find another way to talk. None of that happens here. There's no sense that she immediately recognizes who Jin is, and that is super, super interesting. Now, the second you think about the whole Judy thing, you immediately have a sense for what's actually going on. Now, of course, the idea here is that Jin is not going to immediately think brainwashing, because that is quite a leap, given that theoretically Jin doesn't even know brainwashing is a possibility. And we'll see how that eventually will come out, of course, because this is a major part of the plot of the book. But it's fascinating that, Jin takes this almost like leap of faith, taking this, job given to her by Chuan, and gets this very interesting, at times ominous, interaction with the professor that she's delivered the thing to, and then on the way back she encounters Susu, that she was almost destined to go down this path, and the plot is very much beginning to get going at this point, which is super intriguing to see. But yeah, that's where the chapter ends. We'll of course continue this on in the next one, but like I said, 9 and 10, there's some really strong stuff here as the different elements of the book begin to come into play. At the very least, you can sort of see the idea of she gets pretty good payment for doing this kind of simple job, so she's going to continue with this. But it is another thing now that she's doing amongst all the other stuff that's still in play. And so there's still that kind of pressure on her to kind of perform in all these areas. And how's that all going to play out? That's the other interesting thing to consider. So yeah, in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on City of Echoes chapters 9 and 10. But yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.